Can you invite someone new? Greetings. It's Nawasha.
It is you. And it's Moncho.
And it's a wonderful Monday. How are you?
Hotep in live land on social media. What's going on?
Let's see, never goes down. We're looking to invite somebody. So, hey, let's start talking in case somebody gets on. We don't want to not be talking. What are we talking about tonight, Mr. Edu?
Well, we're talking about Black love culture, as we always do, the art and science of Black love culture. And tonight's specific is the 7 reasons that you need culturally based counseling. So I guess we would begin by first toasting. Nawasha hooked up some great infused water, and it looks delicious. I'm ready to taste it. It has raspberries, orange, lime, and what else, babe?
That's about it. Just a citrus blend.
So let's taste it. You want to take a sip?
No, I've got water.
The raspberries thing.
But yes, we are talking about why we don't go to counseling. Typically, so I'm saying we, as in Black people, why we have a challenging time going to so-called traditional counseling. And we're just going to talk about the 7 reasons why tonight. So We're starting out with the first reason.
Well, first, let me say Hotep to everybody.
Hey.
It's Moncho and Nawasha, the Acoma House Initiative, culturally based counseling and consulting. And as always, we're reaching you on Monday, and we want to do the art and science of Black love culture. Very important. We're starting a new year off for the 2018 new year.
Yep.
For this, new year that most of us follow here in the United States, that all of us follow in the United States. And, as we say, relationships are the most important thing in our lives. They filter all the other areas of our lives, our work, our politics, our entertainment, all of those other things that we do in life are filtered through our relationships. But, as with the work that we do, we really always want to advocate to people the same way you get a gym coach, the same way you get a financial advisor, the same way you get educational instructors. It is very important that you get guides when it comes to relationship. We have guides and we are guides, but it's very important that we do that because relationships are simple, but they're not easy. Like, for example, when we say communicate, that's pretty simple, but it's not easy to do, especially when you don't understand the art and science of communication. 9 out of 10 of us do not understand. And the 1 out of 10 of us that understand, we didn't figure it out by ourselves. Somebody taught us the art and science or shared with us the art and science of communication. So for as natural as the emotions can feel in a relationship, we know and understand that love and the science of love doesn't happen because you just want it to happen. So, there's an old saying that I know you've heard before, your grandmom or somebody wise in your life has told you that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so just because you intend for things to go right is not the skill and the technique and the approach that makes them go right. And I think we all can bear witness to that. So tonight, what we wanted to talk about is we recognize that we've been doing this work collectively for like 15 years, but we've both been doing it individually for like 20 plus years. And we recognize that Black people have a stigmatization with getting help with relationships. Now, it's a conundrum because relationships are the most important thing and the thing that are guiding all the rest of the stuff. So it's really deep because this is the biggest thing, but it's the thing that we don't touch a lot of times. And I think a big reason is because the cultural lens that we understand this thing through is really hurting us. So we wanted to share with you all tonight to start off This is our first live of this year?
No.
Okay, this is our second live of this
Wait,
year.
yeah, it's the 8th, so I think we did one.
Okay, so did we do one on New Year's Day?
I think so.
Okay, well, anyway, this is the tone that we want to set. And we want to ask you, as we always do, what are some of your relationship goals for this year? We want you to start throwing those up now so we can see what is your relationship goals. And I'm really interested in the people who not in relationships say to get in a relationship, or they're going to say to stay out of a relationship. And that's cool. But I'm really interested in hearing from those people that are in relationships, especially ones that are past 3 years, past 7 years. What are your relationship goals this year? So we want to hear about that.
And if you're not in one, if you could think a little deeper than just to get in one, like what is the goal of the relationship that you want to be in?
Right.
Because we really want to be specific so that we can see if we can give you a strategy on this live. So if you want a deeper strategy, of course, we offer free soulmate strategy sessions. Just got to click the link that's in this description box. Let's see, it's a bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly/ and then soulmate strategy session with the capital letter for every word. So capital S, capital N, capital S, capital S. But you can just click the link that's in there and schedule a time to talk to us if you want to do it confidentially.
Right.
But our goal is to really give you a strategy that helps you find, keep, or enhance the relationship.
Indigenous Queen said, being committed to our date night.
Amen.
And I love y'all, Indigenous Queen.
Amen on that one. We need to be committed to our date night. We're doing the date night challenge. It's going to start up in a couple days.
Right. We're
the
doing
official
launch of the 52 Date Night Challenge, and we want you, Indigenous Queen and Indigenous man over there. We want y'all to join us in Chicago, I believe you all are. But in any event, we love that. We love that. And so all the couples that ride with us on that, we know it's a challenge, especially when you have children and you have, when you got a business and a whole lot of stuff. We found a way to do a 15-minute date on a daily basis. So we're going to share that with you all. I see another one said finding common ground. That's always important. Always important.
But that is a good goal. So
we love you all too.
Keeping a goal in your mind is so important. And that's one of the reasons, Mom Show, we don't set New Year's resolutions. We don't really talk about, honoring the new year necessarily, but this is a time at the beginning of the year where a lot of people are saying what their goal is in a lot of different areas of their life. So making sure that you're staying with something at the top of your mind is really important. So even if it is just finding common ground, keeping that as a goal, it really just goes back to how do you maintain those goals. So by this time of year, most people
have already broken
a resolution, a New Year's resolution, unfortunately. And it just kind of can put you in a down place if you're thinking about some of the losses and that's why you set a goal, or if you're just thinking about where you want to be and that's why you set a goal. You can already have abandoned your New Year's resolution by now. But tonight,
a great date night. My wife makes the best little treats for me. This infused water, brothers, is banging. Get you one of these women that'll do this for you because this is so
Get you somebody that will slice up a
lemon and a lime and just put it in some water with some raspberries. It's sweet, tart, bland, bitter. It's like all these emotions in one drink. But I love it. I love it. I love the way she just presents it to me, and it's so sweet. It's like, I get that for a few minutes and I'm good. I can go back into the world. So in any event, so we got a list for y'all tonight.
Oh, yes.
So we got
Number
7 things, the 7 reasons why traditional therapy doesn't work and why you need culturally based counseling. What we do. Isn't that something?
Isn't that perfect timing? But really, a lot of times I see a lot now, women want to go to counseling. And I see a lot of websites going around that a Black woman
Numa Alpha, Peace Queen,
is looking for a Black woman counselor. So
right.
a Black woman psychologist or a psychiatrist But you're really saying, I want to go to another woman, and I want to go to a Black woman who understands what I could be depressed or uneasy or, focused on. I want somebody who has that base understanding. And I'm really happy to see those types of things.
Right.
Because if you've seen us present before, we talk about the first time that we went to counseling as a couple.
Right.
And it was really important. Mansha went out of his way to find a Black counselor. So, over religion, over cultural philosophy, we wanted to deal with somebody who was Black. That was really important to us. But that was like 12 years ago now. So that was like 2006, 2007. Yeah. So I see, with the power of the internet, people can be really specific, and I'm happy to see those things.
Right.
The reason why we started working like this to offer, coaching, counseling, and consulting was because although we had a good experience having the mediation of counseling, we saw that there was a missing cultural element.
Right.
And number one in that cultural element is the art of soulmating, or the art of relationships, the art of love. Sometimes we are definitely caught up on that, and that's another reason why we put a Coma Day out so formally, is because art is important, but it can be superficial. So we're talking about the spiritual understanding of putting in all of the senses into your relationship. So of course that's different for Black people, Indigenous people, to really talk about the art of love.
Right. So it's important because the art is what I call the feminine energy. It is usually the energy that I find that the men need the most, but it really deals with the perspective or the approach in relationships, or what I say is the why, right? So a lot of times when you go to traditional therapy, or I don't want to say traditional therapy, I want to say European therapy, I want to say white therapy.
It's common here.
When you go into that, you go into it from such a clinical perspective that most of our people believe that you go into therapy because something is wrong. And that's one half of the stigma. People don't want to say something's wrong with me, but I use a lot of metaphors like your car and other things that you don't iron your clothes because they're wrong. You iron to prepare to put your best foot forward. You don't service your car because it's broken. You service it to prevent it from breaking down and for it to run at its highest, most efficient level. And on and on and on and on and on down the line. You don't do your hair or go to the salon because your hair is wrong. You go to the salon because you're trying to present your best self. So you come to counseling in a cultural paradigm. It starts during your rites of passage. And I would even say with you,
right?
Like we actually started like 2000, 2001, because we started with a cultural paradigm when we were, going to Baba Haru. Shout out to Baba Haru and Queen Afua. We were getting a lot of, we were 6-7 years deep before we went into a therapeutic milieu and began to receive specific relationship techniques. Right. But the energy and the balance of how to balance art in relationship was important. So number one, culturally based counseling teaches the art of your culture, of Black people's style. So what's number two? And then
that leads, which is what Marsha was already talking about, to number two, which is the science. So a lot of times you'll see us talk about the art and science of love culture, that really there's a culture to love. There's a language, there's a philosophy, there are demonstrations and rituals and, processes. All of that is really the culture of love. And we're learning it from our parents, from the womb, but we're also learning it as soon as we really enter into the other culture. So we're saying, how do people say that they like someone? How do people say they love someone? How do people say someone is beautiful or interesting? How do you court? How do you propose? What is a marriage? What is a wedding? As some of the ceremonies. Right. But we're talking about the methods to do something. So for us, indigenously, spiritually, the art and science are together.
Right.
But a lot of times the reason why so-called traditional counseling doesn't work is because the method that you're receiving can be out of context for who you are as a person. So the people who do venture out and go get counseling from mainstream, American processes, like you want to use your insurance card and you just want somebody who's going to help you through a challenge or help you set a goal. A lot of times the problem with that is that for the first reason, the art is a little bit different for us. So when we go, we're kind of reserved in the counseling a little bit because we have to feel people out.
Right.
We have to understand if we can really trust the situation. And so a lot of times we wait, for a long time.
Right.
So
They say a lot of times they say like 6 sessions before you even start to open up.
And that's for the people who go, So sometimes people don't go. Like we know as Black people, a lot of times the first thing that you'll hear is that you don't have a problem, you're not crazy, so you don't want to go to get support. And whether that's men or women, we're saying a lot of times that we're strong enough to deal with our problems, or we don't want anyone to tell us that we're wrong. So because we do think of that, like how Mancho mentioned, that you have to be wrong a lot of times to go get counseling, we don't go. So, part of the art and science being number 1 and number 2 is that we are saying from an Indigenous perspective, it's not about guilt or blame. So a lot of times we're saying, I feel guilty, so I'm not going to go. Or I don't want the counselor to blame me, so I'm not going to go.
Right.
And really, from a cultural perspective, counseling is for you to take responsibility for your purpose and your gifts and your actions on the planet. So it's a different context.
Right. So I would say, just to reiterate, number 1 is the art, which I call the feminine energy of counseling, and it is most applicable to men. Number 2 reason that you should get culturally based counseling is because culturally based counseling gives you the science or the methodology or the steps. And my beautiful sisters, I call that the male energy of counseling, and it's most important that you get that. I want to help you to not facilitate your own heartbreak and disappointment, because there's a methodology to courting, there's a system to dating, there's steps before you have sex, and over and over and over and over again. Many of the sisters, they got the art down, but they don't have those steps. The brothers have the science down because they're usually leading with the intention that sometimes they're telling you the true intention and sometimes they're not, but they are controlling the steps. So they're using those steps to get to where they need to be, but they're kind of like a complementary togetherness. The art is female and men really need that. The science is male energy and women really need that. And together they create a harmony and a homogeny that's a synergy of balance. Traditional therapy doesn't give you that, especially for Black people, because I don't care what science you study from the PhD level down to kindergarten, the culture that controls that, the ideology is always infused in the science. Now, if you're like in education or anything, they always tell you that math and science are not acculturated, and that's absurd. All you have to do is go around the world and look at the way people teach science and math, but especially from Black people on the continent of Africa, in Brazil, in India, and even here in the States, especially if you go back a few generations, the way the elder teachers taught is different than what's happening today. And that's why we were more proficient. So there's a de-evolution that's happening, but not to stray. Number 1 is the art. Number 2 is the science. The art is feminine and the men need it. The science is masculine and the women need it. And then together we have that. So those are the first 2 reasons that you need culturally based counseling. Aize Ma'at is our comrade. What's up? Another fellow counselor. What's going on, Aize? We love you. And Ayana, peace to y'all. So number 3
reason is because you need the symbols of
Right.
indigenous culture. So we all know, symbolism is another language that we really appreciate because it's
Right.
speaking to you at multiple levels.
Right.
So a lot of times the archetypes that you'll use in certain types of counseling or the references that are made are not resonating
Right.
the same way that they would in subculture. So I'm using the word subculture because in the United States, someone will tell you that, Black people are a minority percentage, or Latino people are a minority percentage, or women or men, all of those types of, or children, those are specific kinds of subcultures that when you're going to counseling, if your child is going to counseling, you should send your child to someone who specializes in working with children, right? Because they're going to use a certain style of art. They're going to use a certain method, which is the science. They're going to use certain words and symbols that are going to resonate with and helping a child wrap their mind around goals or wrap their mind around challenges. The same is true when you're working with Black people. So just like we said a little while ago, I see a lot of women, putting out websites and data, what do you call them, like search engines that are solely to find another Black woman counselor. Because the things that we want to talk about, we might want to talk about something that has to do with men, something that has to do with the feminine body. That could be some of the challenges that we're talking about or some of the goals that we're setting for ourselves. So knowing right off the bat that I want to work with another Black woman is, I don't know, what do I want to say, obvious, but it's one of the criteria that I see a lot of people, claiming right now, which I think is so wonderful. I think that what else is very important is really just knowing if you're going to some type of counseling for relationships, that the symbols are important. So when you're talking about indigenous counseling or culturally based counseling or what we are talking about, traditional rite of passage kind of counseling for character development, the symbols that you use when you're helping someone make their own metaphors or improve their life are extremely important, and they're unique to
Right.
Black culture.
And Black people, we talk in symbols. We the symbols that we know. There's so many. Right now, behind us is a Sumsum. That is a Dinka symbol. It's not a snowflake. If you're not familiar with it, it's a symbol that from West Africa that represents the soul. But if you come from the South, like we all do, and we move to the Northeast and to the West, we have all kind of things like, if you sweep somebody's foot with a broom, you spit in it. There's just like, a rabbit's foot, a lemon over the door, a cactus by the door. These are all symbology, and symbols are they're the thought symbol, which is the first sense. It is the common sense. So sometimes people say there's no such thing as a common sense, but there is. The common sense is the centralizer of all the other perception, the sensory perception senses. So like your mind and heart are the common sense. So when you feel a certain way and you think a certain way that is off center, people say you lost your common sense. But so black people have a specific art. Black people have a specific science. They have symbols. So that is the first three things. When you go into therapeutic, for those of us that are therapists or that are trained in these arts, they will tell you that, cultural relativity is important, but it's very surface. It's like if you work in the industry and you've ever gone to what are them things that I hate? You just went to one not too long ago. Diversity training. Yeah. They're so superficial. And no matter how they try to pretend that it's inclusive, what it actually is the whole on or the perspective, right, of white people trying to tell you what other people, how to be sensitive to other people. But really, if you're living in your culture is you're immersed in it, and it's taking care of you. So when we talk about relationships as Black people, one of the reasons that we're ineffective is because all of us are. So I have this idea that I say to our clients and to, some people like Aize and other colleagues that do this work. until the Black family, individual, man and woman, comes back together, the Black people as a macro family can't come back together. So if the micro doesn't come together, the small family, then the larger family, because one of the things that I hear a lot is Black people talking about how we act as a group and how our relationships are as a group. But I always say that the larger group are reflecting the smallest group, which is the man and woman and the start of the family and the children. So until we can, get that back in order, we will never be able to get that group. Think about the time. I'll challenge you on this. Think about the time in your life, if you 40 plus like us, think about the time when Black people really got along, right? I guarantee you, if you look at whatever year that was for you, whenever you was growing up or whatever that is, I guarantee you, if you look at that time, the marriage rates were way higher than they are right now. Guarantee. Look at it and see. If I'm wrong, then let me know. I haven't looked at it yet, but I know it because I know it instinctively just of my study of history and the constant decline of 72% broken homes that we're in. But so what we're saying here is, for Black people, there has to be a different script. So the first thing, number one, is the art. Number two is the science. Number three is the symbols, whether they're deeply cultural and abstract like this, or whether they're simple things like,
just like common cultural references.
Right.
So there's definitely language. Things go around faster now because of the internet, but there is a language that we use. There are references that we make, and those are our modern day archetypes, and our, modern day, for lack of a better word, like mythology. So there are some things that in culture, again, when you're in a subculture, that the language is different, the symbols are different, the art and science is different, and this is every subculture has its own words, which brings us to number four.
Number four is the talk of Black people. I'm not talking about Ebonics, but I'm talking about, I had a friend that used to always say, my man Kel used to always say, the way how I see it. Now, somebody from the outside will label that Ebonics, but I don't believe in external people labeling us in a way that we embrace. So we use that term sometimes. I don't know where that term comes from. I've heard debate about it, and I don't really care. I don't particularly like it, but I just say the way Black people talk. Because Black people talk with rhythm, we talk with metaphors and similes, we talk in stories, we talk in a certain way that if you're going into a therapeutic environment and you trying to talk about your situation, oh man, me and Nawasha tell some of the funniest stories to each other of situations in that we have with our clients, and somebody will say something if we're working with a couple, and all four of us will bust out laughing because we all can recognize that that cut the bullshit kind of talk that we have. Like we just, after a while, let's just get down to it. Let's get down to the get down. And
that's
so,
what we were talking about earlier.
That's important.
If you feel that you're presenting in
William Maxon, what's up, brother?
Before you can get
Cookie
to
Castro,
your
what's up,
true
Queen?
self. So if you feel like most people don't want to do that. It's very tiring.
Right.
If you have a challenge or a goal already, it can be very tiring to be like, okay, we all know we're code switching. So we're code switching as Black Americans. Most people are code switching when you feel like you are in any subculture. So now this is all around the world. Anywhere where you feel like I have my language and this is how we talk, but in order to be taken seriously, I have to speak like this. So anybody who's under any kind of oppressive situation doesn't feel like in the midst of, a challenge, presenting. We just want to be ourselves. So a lot of times, again, that's why you're looking for a certain kind of counselor and a certain kind of environment and setting, because you don't want to have to present when you want to open yourself up and you want to be in a space that is free and safe and sacred and what some people consider vulnerable. So a lot of times the reason why we feel as vulnerable or we feel the pain that is associated with the word vulnerability is because we don't feel like we're going to be accepted. We feel like there's some conflict before we even go. Right. So we have half the people are weeded out by these first four things that I'm not even going to look for counseling
Right.
because of the art, the science, the symbols, and the wording. The vernacular, I'm not going to even go. You know?
And if you've ever been in, like we do, when we're studying stuff, you watch those ridiculous videos and stuff like that. I know all the Black people who move to the suburbs try to convince your children that there's no such thing as talking white, and that's absolutely false. There is definitely a such thing as talking white when you talk about vernacular, tone, resonance, rhythm, and colloquialisms and all of that. There is definitely a thing. And, so a lot of times when people are saying to Black people, you're talking white, they know what they're talking about. It's not just your articulation and your enunciation and the representation of your words. Malcolm X was highly articulate, but he was never accused of sounding white in his tone nor his delivery, but his conceptual delivery. But so when we go to something as intimate as our relationship, we want to be able to talk to a person in a way that, you just understand what I'm saying. And we all nod and we get it. We understand where everybody is coming from. And so that becomes the foundation of our communication, that we're talking alike. And, these therapists understand that. That's why when you go in any industry now, you got to have a bilingual person, which usually means a person who speaks Spanish, but they don't necessarily make it a requirement for there to be a Black person who is not just Black in skin, but can speak to Black people from the South, can speak to Black people from urban environments, can speak to Black people from abroad, and really can help them navigate through their relationships using a composite language that is made up of all kind of things: tone, rhythm, speed, sound resonance, and colloquialisms and metaphors, et cetera, et cetera. That's what you need. If you're going to be opening up about your relationship, you need somebody that you can flow with. You need somebody that you can represent yourself in a way that you don't have to do a lot of explaining and code switching. And, for me, it's the number one thing that it's one of my biggest pet peeves with Black people, is that when white people, the conditioning is so deep. And I tell some of my white colleagues this: watch how certain Black people just switch when y'all come around, like the way we're talking, and then we just start trying to enunciate as properly as we can, and to make sure that we can impress them and let them know that we are civilized and human beings too. They don't care nothing about that. They don't do that. Now, they may change the style, like they might be saying something way crazy and racist, but they may change the style, but they never change the energy of it. It depends on their age, because a lot of the young white kids is like they trying to be super niggers. Like I don't even understand what that is, but like I understand it, but they going crazy with it. So it's disgusting. But
if you're like under 25, you are familiar with hip hop culture or language or vernacular. So I definitely hear people change when they feel like they can, depending, because especially because I'm sometimes on a campus at a, the young adult age. I hear people like, oh my gosh, do you talk like that all the time?
You'll talk like that when your white grandfather come around.
Thanksgiving dinner, are you talking like that? I'm not.
They be like, Mr. Marshall, you feel me? You feel me? I'm like, Christopher? Like, yeah, okay, Chris.
But it really is. We do sometimes just a talk when we're not doing individual or couple or family counseling. We are actually just spreading awareness and education about counseling. So the cultural relevancy, or why you need culturally relevant counseling. But we also sometimes talk about, a lot of the time, we talk about how the system that you're in can have an effect on your relationship. So now this is relevant when you're entrepreneur and you're working, and that kind of environment is your system. It's relevant when you're Black, when you're young, when you're an educator, whatever it is that you're doing, that culture is affecting your relationship, because it's a filter that you're living through.
Right.
And what a lot of Black people don't realize, we talk about racism a lot right now, but we really don't talk about the effects of racism on dating, and your intimate relationships.
Right.
And we sometimes do a talk, which I think we're going to do. We said we were going to do it. Share the slide with you. Maybe we'll do that next week.
Yeah, we'll do that next week.
Since we figured out how to do it. We're
Courting,
screen
dating,
share.
and waiting for nationhood.
But a lot of times we don't realize, because we're learning, like we said, about the art and the science, we learn about relationships from the time that we are like 1 or 2, you know, and especially if you start watching TV or you read any kind of fairy tales to your children, or, you know, they celebrate things like Valentine's Day. They're doing that from preschool and from kindergarten. So a lot of times we don't realize that
I'm coming to bang on a school.
We
got we got accommodate cards for children. Forgive me, Queen. Go ahead.
That there's a cultural oppression in your relationship. So you don't even realize that what you think about women, what you think about men, is coming from an oppressive culture. Right. So when you're saying, you know, what we see with this, like, Me Too hashtag, and, you know, so many things that we see and proliferating in our common everyday conversation, especially on social media, is really coming from the situation that we find ourselves in. So if you
Definitely.
don't learn, number 5.
Ho, please. Can I do number 5? Please, Black people. Thank you, baby. Number 5 of the 7 reasons that their counseling doesn't work and that you need culturally based counseling. Please, I'm going to give you like 3 seconds to drum roll, call somebody. Everybody watching this, everything that we said is important. This is the most important point right now where I'm at. Please listen. Somebody tell me that you're listening, because I want you to get this. If you never come to us or to Ma'ats, if you still there, Aize, if you never go to any of the people that we recommend for counseling, you have to get this if you want to have a thriving relationship where you with your partner for 18 years, going on 20 years, and you still having a great time, and you still getting to know them, and you still looking forward to the next year like it's the first year. If you want a relationship like that, number 5 is so important. So we're on the 7 reasons. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Indigenous Queen. Thank you, Shakira Wright. I thank you, Hussein Haq. I really appreciate this. This is the most important thing. Was that build up good enough? Okay. Culturally based counseling systemizes the process of courting, of dating, but for the couples who are together, mating. Thank you, New Ma'afa. Now, courting is when we're interviewing each other and we're trying to get together. Dating, actually, I say often, actually comes after mating. But in this culture, it really doesn't, because so many things are backwards. Dating is the active planning to grow together, doing activity, so we do not grow apart. But y'all, it is the mating. And the mating is the synthesizing 2 styles as we go through life cycle development. So the Mansho I am today is not the same Mansho I was 20 years ago when I first got with Nawasha. The Nawasha she is today is not the Nawasha she was before, you know, 3 children and 3 stepchildren and all the different things that we've done moving around. We're going through cycles of development. Men have a particular style. Women have a particular style. Some of us are visual and need to see love. Some of us are kinesthetic and need to feel love. Some of us are auditory and need to hear love. Some of us are in a cycle where we're alienating. Some of us are in a cycle where we're trying to recapture something or redefine. There's so many nuances going on in a relationship, and the longer you are together, the more things are going on. If you have a system at your job, if you have a system to drive your car, if you have a system to understand the world, why don't you have a system to keep your relationship thriving? What is it that is teaching you that that's the one area that you could just jump into and make it work? What is it in your mind that is making you think that? We are saying that it's because somebody has taken your culture away, and they've taken away your common sense, your ability to rationalize and feel in congruency and to create what we need to have, which is a nation of Black people. Somebody took that from you, and culturally based counseling is the only thing that's going to give it back. It's going to give you a system. How do we resolve conflict? What do we do? How do we create intimacy? How do we create trust? How do we forgive one another when we trample on each other's feelings? You can't make that shit up. I don't care how long you've been together. You can't make it up.
But you know what?
You need a system.
I think we know that we need a system. I think this is why it's so popular when you hear stuff like the love languages, and
Right.
you know,
Cannibals.
when you hear expressions that we use, we really want a system. We're desiring some type of system. And what happens is something like that is just a fraction of the understanding of, you know, indigenous spiritual technologies. When you're talking about the system that we're comparing, the system of white supremacy is in your mind and heart from the time that you're a child.
It's in your dreams.
So when
Studies have proven.
when
It's
you
in your
have that
consciousness
system
on
and
a
you
high
don't
level.
realize that that is affecting your relationship, what happens is you're looking for something else, especially if you've ever been in a relationship. You're looking for whether it's the new app to date, whether
Right.
it's the 5 love languages. All of those things are a fraction of what you would really learn if you were in a rite of passage in order to prepare for being with your complement.
Right.
So that one thing can improve your relationship so much, knowing that the way I see the world is not the way that my husband sees the world.
Right.
If I focus on that, I can adjust. So it's a system that definitely people would say has worked for them. But for us, when we're talking about the art and science, the symbols and the language, and the system that we're using, we have so much more available to us that we're really not utilizing because it's not part of the dominant culture. And what I think is so interesting is for us, you know, we went to school for counseling, so we've learned certain so-called systems. And a lot of times, even for us, there was no criteria. Now, we went to a Black school, so-called Black school.
HBCUs, what's up?
There was no criteria for us to have a paradigm that understood Black people.
Right.
So even though we had majority Black teachers, we had majority, I'm talking about 90-something% Black students, the materials that we learned were like 90% white.
Freud, Skinner, Jung, Rogers,
Maslow.
you know, Maslow, and it might have slipped like Naeem Akbar in there or
But
something
not
like that.
really, not on
But
the
not
syllabus.
not in a
Maybe
syllabus.
coming from
Certain
a particular
professors did
professor.
that. Yeah, certain
But
professors
the
did that.
point
But
of that is when you look at people like Jung, when I understood who those people were and where they were getting their philosophy from, somebody like him was straight up saying, I'm talking about indigenous culture, I'm talking about African culture.
right.
I have redesigned my house. I
Yeah.
am using
Carl
the
Jung,
idea,
he redesigned his house like a village, right? An African
a
village.
circle.
A circle.
So the
yeah,
way that
for the
most
hut.
people
Yeah.
do their huts or teepees, or a
Right.
lot of indigenous people, because a circle is a communal shape
Right.
that is not rigid, you know, and allows for a certain flow of energy. Many indigenous people organize their home that way.
Right.
But we study our culture through someone else.
Right.
So there's somebody else who went to Africa and said, wow, you know, storytelling is amazing. People are learning rites of passage, how to live, how to function, how to marry, how to have children through storytelling. I should use that and create a model. So we end up saying, this is a person who studied for a small amount of time, was not necessarily initiated.
We love you for real.
We were
See you in a couple
talking
weeks.
about studying just to learn a couple of groups of people. So if you ever read like his work in particular,
Right.
he's only talking about us now, in a more modern time, using the idea of storytelling and archetypes that are important to us. So
Right.
when we say something like, hey, in a relationship, what did you see your parents do in your relationship? If your mom is saying men are dogs, men are terrible, this is why your dad cheated on me, and I never could find another man, and I wish I did this, and I never would have done that. If you're going out to date and you hear your mom's voice, part of understanding that there's a mother archetype, there's a goddess archetype, there's a sultress kind of sexy, you know, not to
Seductress.
use the word sexy, but the
Oh, sexy.
seductress kind of archetype.
You know you're
There's
sexy.
there's a child archetype, right? So the
She's
idea
sexy in the mug.
that all of these people are living inside of you is really an African concept.
Right.
So really from the most indigenous writings, you're going to see that everybody has a characteristic to their
Right.
personality that you can evoke or invoke, you know, when it's time to use that. So if you're like, hey, I need some warrior energy, that's a philosophy that we had a system for, is really calling for that and drawing that out of ourselves when we need it. So if there's a time, you don't always need to be the warrior.
Right. Black man.
That's too much. So sometimes
Don't
you
always need
shift
to be the warrior, brother.
a father is appropriate.
Right.
You know, of the playfulness of a child is appropriate sometimes. Sometimes we're just in the victim archetype, right? And you're victim
Right.
all the time. So that idea of a paradigm to get you out of certain personalities, knowing that you can say, what is it that you need to balance out a victim, is a hero, right? Be the hero of your own life. Who would you be? How would you be? Automatically, when you absorb that in your mind, you start acting differently. So a lot of times when we're talking about the system, we don't understand the system that we're in.
Right.
We definitely don't understand how it's affecting us. Now, you know what I'm saying? You might say, oh, I celebrated Valentine's Day when I was in the first grade. How is that affecting me when I'm 35 or when I'm 45 in my marriage? But it really is affecting you. And the answer to that, or the remedy, the counterbalance, you know, to harmonize that, would be for you to really adopt a system that is indigenously relevant for you. So culturally relevant, we're talking about one surface level of being in the United States, but there's another element to that is universal to Black people, whether they're in South America, whether they're in North America, whether they are in Africa, Australia, Europe. There is another element that really is universal in Black indigenous spirituality.
It's
that
just
tells
like,
you how to systemize.
it's just like, you know, the metaphor I could use is that, like, when you see Black people dance, and so, you know, you see like in early 2000s, they came up with the Harlem Shake, but then they found out that that's the Boston earthquake from 50 years before. Or if you've ever seen the movie Rise, when they were showing, the white guy was showing these Black kids, Rise was like a documentary about crunk music. And they had some great characters. What was my man's name? Tight Eyes, and a couple of other dancers that was really dope. Well, my man started showing, this white guy started showing them videos of ancient African dance, and it was the same moves. Why is that? Because there's something in our DNA that is encoded. And so, you know, because Black people in America really don't study our cultures around the world, we think that a lot of the stuff that we're doing is very unique, but everywhere we do libations. I just saw T.D. Jakes doing it in the Christian church. We do it in all the religions. We do it on the corner when we pour out some for the brothers that's not here. We do it on the continent. We do it in Brazil, the candomblé or whatever. We do these things. The way we coordinate and the way we perceive each other is also similar. But here in America, we're in a unique situation. We're in this bird cage and we're confused. We're being oppressed by a system. I will say this, a system requires a system to replace it. So an individual can't replace a system. But when we're talking about love and we're talking about intimacy, there is a system to building intimacy. And for any of you who have had intimacy in a relationship and lost it, one of the reasons why is because in the beginning, you're utilizing all of your senses. You're utilizing your thoughts, you're utilizing your feelings, and you're utilizing your five senses: sight, smell, taste, hear, and touch. And you're utilizing them on overload. So you're hitting the person where they resonate, and you don't really realize it because everything is new and fresh. Then when you get into a flat line, what starts to happen is you don't realize or never really understood that the person has what we call a syntax or an order in the way they do things. So if I'm visual and then I'm auditory kinesthetic, and my wife is kinesthetic, just say auditory visual or visual auditory, if I never knew that, but I've been with her for 6 or 7 years, and now something seems like it has changed, What actually is changing is that you're not hitting everything anymore. You're going back to your style, and your style almost certainly is not her style or his style. And so what happens is you're still together and you remember the good times, but it's almost like every year you're looking at your relationship like we're moving further and further away from our peak. We're not actually reaching, we passed our peak. So like we heard Will Smith and Jada Pinkett say, when you look at your marriage, you got to say how many good years have you had and how many bad years have you had, because you had some good bad years and you've been together for a time, because struggle is real. But a system will allow you to perpetually grow together. The reason people say that they grow apart is because they don't have a system to grow together. So when people say that to me, I don't know, we just growing apart. I say, well, what was your system to grow together? They're like, what? What are you talking about? Because I'm saying that just to see the concept. I know you don't know it, or else you wouldn't be saying that to me. People who have a system to grow together never talk about growing apart. They talk about, are we performing at our best, or where do we rank on a scale of 1 to 10?
That's the responsibility level that we talked about in the beginning.
Right.
Is, are you really just taking responsibility, or are you ready to blame someone? It's either your partner or your parents or the, all men and all women.
Right.
Or are you just feeling guilty and withdrawn from the whole process?
Like I'm so bad, I'm crazy, I just mess up everybody. I mess up everything.
The other option is to say that this was the goal. Like we said, this is the beginning of the year, you set a goal, this is the goal. And then how do I take responsibility for making it happen? So that even if the goal does not happen, I may hit it earlier. I may not hit it at all, but I can take responsibility and reevaluate over and over and over and over. And I think that that's very important. Number 5 is that you need to have a system that really is going to address the system that you're in, but then really address you and your relationship as a system. So we're talking about, you definitely would get it in a gender-specific rite of passage, but truthfully, in true indigenous culture, you would have it from when your parents are together. Right. So when your parents are first courting and they have a purpose to their relationship, you're being born with a gift and a purpose. And then that is how you would link up with your soulmate. So when we talk about soulmate science, we're saying that your purpose is aligned with another person's purpose to have this third contribution to the community. Right. And that means that you're getting the system from conception.
Right, and you're getting it from the group as a whole, and that's what we miss.
Extremely important.
That's so important. I'm telling you, Black people, brown people, white people, whoever is out there listening to us, if you follow us, you're going to hear us say this all the time. Now, if you really work with us, we're going to show you some stuff that will blow your mind. And anybody that's out there that is working with us now or who has worked with us, you can feel free to comment and tell some of these people the difference that your relationship happened when you develop a system. And let me just say this to the people who are stuck in superhero complex or fairy tale syndrome. Having a system doesn't take any of the magic out of your relationship. It doesn't take the spontaneity or the creativity out of it any more than any art that you learn with, any physical art that is a system. It makes things so much easier. It helps you understand your style in a way that you haven't been taught in school or watching your family. It helps you understand your partner in a way that makes you appreciate them so much more. So I am telling you, in this top 7 countdown, we having a little bit of fun here, and all of this stuff is real. But this thing right here is so, so, so important. If you want to die in your relationship, the easiest way is not to have a system. Gravity is automatic. Time will wear your ass out, and you will lose or run out of deeper insight, endless creativity. But if you develop a system, and a system that is developed from your innate energy, your innate spirit, but it's specific to you also. It's general, but it's also specific. Your relationship will go up. What we normally hear from couples is, we loved each other, we were at a level 4. Now we, on a scale of 1 to 10, we at a level 17. Or we were at a negative 16 on the scale of 1 to 10, and now we at a 5 or 6. And so the ability to move your relationship and make it whole and complete, I challenge anybody out there. I will give you $100. Call me. I'll give you $1. I'll give you $100. If you could show me something in your life that you do that doesn't involve a system. Show me to somebody right now. Tell me right now something, anything in your life that you're doing that doesn't involve a system. You're not gonna, it's not work, it's not your worship, it's not politics, it's not entertainment, it's not your food. What is it? It's not exercise, it's not education. There is nothing that you can name in the 11 areas of human interaction that isn't systemized. But the only thing that we just try to flow with and just, go into crazy is relationships. And in the top 7 reasons why their counseling doesn't work, their being somebody else's culture, whoever it is because they don't have a system that was designed for you. You need a love system. That's what we teach. And so, hey, and she said I changed it from, hey, and no, only reason I did that, Nikki, is because sometimes I've learned, like when you say $1,000 or $100, it appears insulting. So it's not the value of the bet. It's just that it's a bet. So that's why I don't want to insult anybody. But it really is important. I listen to this. This is way more valuable. I bet not you, Nikki, but I bet people the success of their relationship. Now, how about that shit? Let's bet on your relationship that without a system secretly in your heart, you know that your relationship is probably 1/3 of what it could be. Now, let's bet. I bet you that. Now, I bet you that. And I'm willing to give you, I'm willing to give anybody, as we're saying, if you look at this link, this Bitly Soulmate Strategy session, call us up and let's get a free hour on the phone so we could tell you some of this stuff. And I bet you will walk away from that free hour saying, damn, like everybody does. Not because it's us, so I'm not being arrogant. What I'm saying is we're just sharing something that was shared with us. We don't control it. We don't own it. We've systemized it ourselves and put our personal stamp on it to share with you, but it was shared with us and it was here before us. It's going to be here after us. But I tell you that I bet anybody they whack ass relationship. Let's bet that a system will take you up about 7 levels. Let's bet. Now, who don't believe me? Call that link and schedule yourself and let's see. So that's number 5 on the 7 things. So number 6 reason why their counseling doesn't work and you need culturally based counseling is because
it builds the nation. So we're talking about nationhood, and we've been saying things like subculture or different kinds of words that sometimes Black people or women or Latino people or whatever it is referred to. There's all of the things, or men, all of the things that people have their own code for. What's really going to help Black people be more successful in relationships and all the areas of people activity is to actively make a decision on doing things to create a nation. So within the United States, you're still saying in the world or here where we are in the United States, you want to be able to say that I can create and organize and unify under certain principles. So a lot of times you'll hear how much money Black people in the United States make or spend.
Trillions.
As a nation, right? But sometimes you don't hear other references to how we are as a nation unless it's one of those depressing statistics that somebody throws out about, how many Black men are incarcerated? How many Black women are the head of a household? How many Black children have a parent who's spending some time in prison? Like we hear a lot of times Black children are not at a reading level, or all these types of things that really don't have, we don't really take it the step further and say there's no such thing as a reading level. You know, anybody with a dictionary can figure out anything if you show them how to do it.
Right.
And we don't say, you know, why people get incarcerated. We don't say why or how
Because they in the system.
people find that they are, you know, leading the household on their own. But we have all of these kinds of
defeated statistics.
Yes, statistics about Black people as a whole, right? So we'll see this, especially when we do the census. We take information, is like demographic information. It ends up getting spit back to us as these kinds of statements that this is when we're referred to as a Black nation. But we need to really be thinking of proactive ways to organize and unify the nation. If it is going to be around the areas of education, if it's going to be around the areas of, you know, having children and getting married and running a family, we have to say that what we're looking at as the results of what we have done or have not done, that we are responsible in order to change those things. We are responsible enough to change those things. And we can make a change in any of those statistics. So the idea that needing the system that is going to benefit us in order to make those changes is, you know, coming first, but really just recognizing that we are a nation of people and we need to do the things that actively promote nation building instead of just like listening to these depressive, incomplete versions of the statistics.
Yeah, the statistics are always incomplete. The ones I hate the most are about health. When you hear stuff on the radio and TV and they say black people are 7 times more likely to, right. You know, like that's game. What they're not explaining to you, the reason why, especially Black people in America, is because of the system that they're in. That's the reason why. Whether it's heart disease, whatever, you can go to Africa, that's not true. You can go to Brazil where it's more Black, it's 60 million Black people here. It's only 40 here. 40 plus, so they saying. But they don't have that situation. You can go to India where the deep Black people like my shirt are. They don't have that situation. So when you hear that stuff on the TV, and that's all game, you know what I mean? And you got to be able to understand the context in which they're talking. Because if you grow up in that, like I hear a lot of Black children parrot that, and it's sad. Because that's all they hear on the radio, on TV. Black people are more likely to get X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. It makes you think something wrong with us. We have the most superior genes. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. But staying in line with this, you know, my only point on number 6, which is it builds nationhood, culturally based counseling builds nationhood, is that the man and woman is the seed of a nation. Nothing should have told you this more than watching Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. When they came together, the greatest thing that they did for Black people was showed us Black family at its excellence again. Their politics is another story, but their symbolism, again, they are a symbolism. We saw so many people saying, I'm on my Barack, I'm looking for a Michelle. That's code talk, that's symbolism talk. You know, when you saw the little girls, people used to say about our daughters, oh, look, y'all got a little Sasha and Malia. You know what I'm saying? But it's symbolism. And so when we have intact families, our nation is strong. So again, I challenge you, look at a time in your life when you think Black people were doing much better. Because everybody in their life cycle, in their mind, has a time when they think Black people are doing better than they are right now, than they are presently, whatever present is, right? Or they did better. I guarantee you that whatever that time is for you, the marriage rate was extremely higher than it is right now. We're in 72% separated homes. Now, I'm not going to attack the mom and say single mom homes. I was a single parent raising my first child, and I raised him for 7 years until I met my wife, essentially by myself in terms of the help of my friends and stuff, but not with a mate. So, you know, having culturally based counseling is going to build nationhood, because now we're all dealing with the same model. Now we're approaching our entertainment as a group. We're you know, and you know, for those of you that are married people hang with married people. You got single friends and all that, no knock on that. But you know, you move in a certain way, especially those of us that have children and you're trying to find similar families for your children to interact with other children that are their peers. You know how it is. We flow
and you
like
just
that.
want support.
So,
So a lot of times,
you know,
again, just like going out to get the Black woman counselor, or I want to talk to a Black man because I'm a Black man counselor. It's the same as having saying that, hey, I have this couple friend, or I have this other mother who I can talk to, because you want someone who can understand the stage that you're in. So that's extremely important. And then last but not least,
we're going on a date night with couples this year when we launched the 52 date night. So all the couples that want to hang out and have a good time with us, please inbox us. We in tour. We come Northeast people. We straight up. We come into your city. We come into New York. We come into Philly. We come into wherever you are. We want to really connect with you. Plan a time to get together where we can spend a couple hours and sit face to face and get to know each other. So we real on that. And those couples that are out there that know us know. Aize, if he's still hanging on, he knows. We called them up and we met them. Where they from? DC? They from the DC metro area. We got together and we've been friends ever since. You know, whenever they're in this area, we go and hang out with them. We didn't know them from a can of paint. And we will do that with you because we really want to connect and we really want to put faces with these names and really go from social media kinships to real live friendships. So that's that. But number 7.
Well, yeah, I said number 1, right?
Right. Well, it's just number 7 that we counting down. We ascending or descending.
7.
We're talking about the 7 reasons that other people's counseling don't work, and simultaneously that you need counseling from a culturally relevant model. But number 7 is almost as important, and it really is the flip side to number 5 when I say it was so important, is the reason that you need culturally relevant.
We're coming to Savannah in May.
Yeah, Indigenous Queen, we coming to Savannah in May. Nawasha got a workshop with Zaza Ali, and I'm going to be there providing security, and we bring in the family. So let's hook up. Let's inbox. Let's hook up. We can meet. We love y'all. So we want. I thought y'all was in Chicago. So yeah, we definitely we coming to Savannah. So is that around Mother's Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we got a workshop there. I'm trying to set something up for the brothers. Where y'all at, Savannah brothers? Let's set something up. But we'll definitely plan something. We already going to make sure that we see Denise Tucker and Baruti Tucker. They're in Savannah. But we definitely want to yeah, they're I think they're in Savannah or Augusta maybe. Yeah. But we know they're in Georgia, and we've been dying to meet them for a few years now in the flesh. So we love y'all, the Man family, Indigenous Queen and Indigenous Man. So we definitely will get with y'all and meet y'all in the flesh. But number 7 to this little countdown, this New Year's banger, is very important.
As they all are.
And it dissolves. Getting counseling, wise counsel from your cultural paradigm will help you dissolve the effects of racism, white supremacy. Now, that is so important.
And I think we're going to do that. We're going to do that.
Yeah, that is so important. Next Monday, we're going to do a split screen, and we're going to actually show you one of our workshops that we do when we go to Speak Places Live. But the effects of racism, white supremacy on Black people is in education, entertainment, economics, fashion, food, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Oh, I thought y'all was in Chicago. Yeah. But in all 11 of those areas, and it's affecting you. And in the sex area, it's not just the physical act of sex, but it is affecting you there. It is sex is the seed that is the germinating seed of family, right? So so this is the zone that we work in. Of people activity is in the zone of sexuality / family. So having wise counsel is so important. And we have so many acronyms, but we have created something called WISE Counsel, and the WISE is an acronym. It stands for Holistic Immersion Synergy Effect. And what that means is holistic, that is complete in all of those 11 areas of human interaction. Immersion is that we're putting you into something as fully as we possibly can. Synergy is a blend. and then it affects your whole thought, speech, and action, sensory perception, your ability to rationalize, your ability to share yourself on a higher level, your ability to have fun, your ability to protect your interests, your ability to plan for your relationship, your ability to put creativity and to create harmonious balance in your relationship. If you want something like that, please take an hour out of your life. You don't got to spend a dime. Schedule yourself for this free soulmate strategy. And Nikki, as you said before, if you call right now, will we answer the phone? Hell no. We don't do it like that. You take this link and a calendar is going to pop up and it's going to show you the available times. You pick one of those times and then we're going to call you and we're going to have a conversation and we're going to introduce some of these concepts to you, and we'll be on the phone with you for an hour or so and we're going to blow your mind. Then from there, it is your, it's your choice to do if you want to move forward with one of our packages or one of our products or one of our books or something like that. But the point is that even to connecting with us, there has to be a system. And I love my sister Nikki, and she's speaking for my 30 friends out there who think they could just call me on the fly and act like they not having relationship counseling, and they are. And I love you, so I give the stuff away for free. I'm doing some of it now, but it's just my time because I have a system to run my family. So I get 2 free days, and on my free days, I want to do me. All the other 5 days I'm working. And so I'm available to you all, especially my friends. I'm available to you all, and I will go above and beyond for you to help you work out some of the situations you're in. So it is very, very, very important that we defeat this monster and get back to ourselves. And culturally based counseling, will help you do that. It teaches you the art, the feminine art that Black men and Black women need, but especially Black men. It teaches you the masculine science that Black women need, but Black men need it as well. It gives you the symbols, and it gives you some universal symbols that are internal. We talk about this book a lot. You see that Sumsum, the Adinkra symbols, the Medu Neter, the Sanskrit, some of the ancient symbols, they're starting to find that the patterns of these things are actually encoded in our body. That's how deep it is. So this is cellular science. But that's number 3, the symbols. Number 4, it teaches you how to use your vernacular, your style of talking, not just the words you're saying, but the rhythm you use and the way you flow and the way you stop and the way you go. Awesome. Nobody could feel us like us. It's FUBU. It's for us, by us. Number 5, it gives you a system. You need a system to argue. Argument has a place and it has a purpose. But if you don't have a system, all you're going to get is a bunch of damn hurt feelings and resentment. So you need a system for arguing, a system for conflict resolution, a system for dating, a system for coming together. And all of the systemizing doesn't take the love energy out. It puts it in and it makes it easier to do. So that's number 5. Number 6, it builds nationhood. It helps you identify A-alikes and B-alikes. Who do we want to rock with? Who are the men that I want to chill with when I'm hanging by myself? Who are the women that I want my wife being with when she's by herself? But then who are the couples we want to flow with around the country? Why we got this social media and we using it and we ain't really coming together with these fake profiles and all this stuff? Let's really get together and let's kick it. Especially if, like for us, we in New Jersey sitting between Philadelphia and New York. It's like of our 5,000-6,000 friends, 1,000 of y'all are right like 20, 30 minutes away from us. Let's get together. And we've been doing it with some of y'all. Carol Heb, Osiris Bay is one. What's up, my brother? We met you and we've been flowing ever since, right or wrong. All right. So, so I see you in a new relationship too. So I want to give you some of this art and science. But so number 7,
anyone
the last
can
thing,
just use the link, because this is about helping you with whatever the goal is that you set for this year. If it's to have more love,
Kelly Gross,
experience more love, take your love to another level, or if it's to improve any relationship. So that could be a parent relationship, a child relationship, the intimate relationship. But what we always say is that relationships are the most important part of your life.
Emotion.
And you know that there's a phone call that you can get today that's about a relationship that would change everything in your world. So there's somebody who can reach out to you and make you stop what you're doing, get up, leave the house, because that's
your job,
really
whatever.
what is the most important thing to us. That's what we're working for. That's what we're thinking about. That's what is going to really bring us peace. And it's sometimes what's causing us stress. And it doesn't have to be that way. So using a culturally based system is really going to affect you at the mental body, the emotional body, and the physical body, not just the so-called psyche or the psychological body, where a lot of the fractions of our systems are given back to us. So sometimes just at the cerebral level, that's not doing anything for us, and we know it, which is why we're avoiding counseling. But we look around at our situation and we say we need something, we need help, because it can't continue to go on like it's going on. It's really affecting us in the worst ways. So now is the time for us to re-embrace things that actually work at all levels simultaneously, where we can create the kind of experience that we deserve and that we all know we want. Sometimes we're not admitting it to ourselves, but we know we want to be happy. We know we want to be fulfilled. We want to have passion in our life. And that's normally what we start talking about when it's all coming to the end, right? So when you're older, when you have lost someone, then it makes it all clear what is the most important thing in your life. So we don't want you to get to that point first. We don't want you to be 100
We want you to have a good
relationship.
That's the real.
Be happy and be fulfilled, and to not just distract yourself with a new relationship, and not just be upset and alone and bitter while you're still here on the planet. We want you to be happy and to have the best relationship that you can, using things that are the technologies and the systems that were given to us to use. So
that our ancestors left for us. So
Soul-based strategy session. This is a completely free session for you to get a strategy over the phone with us. And you're
going to get some art and science, and it's going to teach you these 7 things. So their counseling is not going to work. It's not going to teach you Black science. It's not going to teach you Black art. It's not going to give you Black symbols. It's not going to teach you the vernacular that you use. Nawasha talks about this book all of the time. This book was written by an Asian man, but he took the work of a Black woman and took it a little bit after she passed away, where she was showing that despite language, when you say certain words in a frozen chamber, they create symbols. Now look at this symbol that we know as a snowflake. That is actually a word that was created in a frozen chamber. And then look at a symbol like the Sumsum. You can see the similarities in that. So we're dealing with high science. The words you say are important. And some of y'all are destroying people that you love by just what you're saying. So their counseling doesn't teach you the art. It doesn't teach you the science. It doesn't teach you the symbols. It doesn't teach you the language that you need. It does not give you a system that was created for you by you, meaning you through perpetuity or through eternity. So the ancient you, the present you, and the future you. It doesn't build nationhood for you, and it will not dissolve the effects of white supremacy, which is a system. So you need a system. Even if you're not in a relationship, you need a system to cope with that. That is the reason why many of us can't cope with it, because we don't know what the system is. That's why we always saying, what's up? What's good? What's going on? Because we know we're in a system, but we know we don't know about it. Now, where we're living at in Trenton, New Jersey, what we're seeing is the gentrification that's happening in all the post-industrial cities like Chicago, Detroit, whatever. What I say that's interesting is that we know it's a system going on, but by the time we figure it out, it's already done. So that's showing you that a system is in play here. And so, when you look at the streets and all of that stuff, there's a system to it. Projects, there's a system to the way they're built. If you don't get a system to your relationship, you are whack, especially because your brother and sister are right here. And there's a couple of others that we know in the country that are out here, Black people in almost every corner of the country we know. You better get you a system for this, for your children and for your relationship and all that, just trying to transmit values, ideological values, just taking them to church or a temple or masjid or mosque or Nome or whatever, and just having them pray. We work with a lot of clergy, and we are doing a outreach to many of the clergy in our area and in the surrounding area about bringing our programs into churches, into masjids, into mosques, into temples, so that we can relieve some of the flock, because they don't, I mean, some of the leaders of the flock, they don't really have time to help everybody with their relationship. But we have talked to about 13, 14 clergy, and what do they say is the number one thing they need help with from us?
Of course, it's relationships.
It's their
Everybody
relationships.
knows, now this is across the board in our country, but even in under different religious houses, that your relationships are still surviving at the same rate.
Yeah, divorce is the
So
same across
whatever
religions.
you're saying is unifying you, a lot of times it comes down to the cultural practice again
Right.
of the religion. So not just being in the ceremony aspect of it, but really being in the I live this way, I communicate this way, I respect this way, I have these certain kinds of processes and rituals and systems in my relationship. And a lot of times what happens is no matter what house you can get married under, your relationship still could, half of them still end up in divorce. And
Right.
truthfully, for Black people, I was just reading this book called "Is Marriage for White People?" The statistic the statistics for Black people are lower than the 50%. So I should say they're higher.
Right. The retention rate is higher. Right.
For Black Americans.
Right.
So talking about the Black divorce rate and the white divorce rate, just like people talk
Well, we
about.
see what the Black one is 70-something%.
Well, that's just single households. That sometimes people don't consider. If you didn't get married first, then you didn't get divorced. But the
Right.
actual I got married first and then dissolved my marriage rate is higher.
Right.
So, we're going to actually talk about, I think we're going to just share the workshop next week for how a system like racism, white supremacy, how we allow that system to affect us, because really we don't have to allow it to affect us the way that it does in all of the areas, but it's because we don't know how it's affecting us oftentimes, that it gives it more energy
Right.
than what it could have on
Right.
our day-to-day life.
Right.
So we're going to share that workshop that we
So
normally
next-
do in a group.
Yeah, next
Monday.
Monday, you're going to see a slideshow, and
But
it's
in the
it's about
meantime-
dating, mating, and courting, dating, and mating. So, hey, y'all, that's basically it.
Yep, and the
If anybody
battery's
has
dying.
any questions, our battery is dying. Go to this bit.ly link. You're going to schedule yourself. You can look at the calendar, see what's available, and you can schedule morning, noon, or evening, whatever works for you. And we're going to have a free conversation. We're going to wet your whistle with about 1 or 2 techniques that we have out of our 1,500 technique bag, and see
it's always
if you
something
can
start with right away.
and it's and the impact. That's right. You can start with it right away, and the impact. It doesn't take 6 weeks to see some change. It doesn't take the level at which you use it is also the level that your relationship ramps up right away. So you will be able to come back and let us know, hey, I used that one T. Damn, I never thought of that, and it really worked. So we here for you.
Yes.
This is our mission. This is our purpose. We would do it for free. The only thing we asking you is to be respectful of our time. So that's the only reason I would charge people, because I got 5 children and a wife,
It's just the
and
reciprocity
I gotta live. But
this
we
process
love you.
is actually free. So if
Right.
right now,
But so many strategies.
whatever relationship that you really truly wish was better, that you wish was more, that you wish was healthier, we want you to reach out to us about it, because we don't want you to have the unease about just wishing that a relationship was better,
Right.
when you really could do a small thing to make it better. So for the people who are already on our email list, we actually just finished a challenge
Yes.
about how you
Thank
can
you for all
improve
the
a
people for
relationship
participating in the challenge.
without waiting for the other person to go first. So
Right.
without any kind of counseling from us at all, and without any counseling from anybody, and without waiting, we did a challenge for 7 days that was a way for you to use some of these techniques, like the art of magnetism and the science compliments in order for you to improve a relationship without involving anyone else but your own mind and your own heart and your own intention. So what we're going to do is we're also going to share that on social media so that you can just say, there is a relationship. Let me close my eyes and think right now, what relationship do I wish was better? That's the one that you should call us or fill out the form with the bit.ly link for.
Make it the intimate relationship. That's just I'll just, we will help you.
And it's bothering them,
yes, I am.
Some people right now they want a better relationship with their teenage, child, and they don't see how things have changed.
Right.
So what we're saying is the months, days, years of being in any kind of relationship, because this is all part of the nation. Whatever is stressing you out, or whatever there's a goal that you haven't been able to reach, that's what you really go out to get wise counsel or guidance in.
Right.
So we're saying whatever that is, we want you to reach out to us.
Baba Haru.
One soulmate strategy.
Salute to Baba Haru, our Kemetic elder, who has guided us on the path so long. The Ankh monk, the fashioner of our wedding rings, of our divine sacred king man. We love you, Baba Haru. Your work is still resonating, and we see one of our other great grandmaster teachers, Mfudishi, Jehuda Mays, Kamal, Salim, of Black Gold. These are grandmaster teachers around the world, so we got to stop everything that we're doing and acknowledge their greatness. So we honks and praises, we salute you and thank you. Hopefully we are making you proud, representing your work that you have shared with us and that you have bestowed to us. These are two of our greatest teachers, and so we're coming in their tradition. So we say something crazy, talk to them.
But this is so important. This is truly, relationships are the most important thing, whether it is your children, your parents, your intimate partner, the community. When we are talking about a nation and when we are talking about healing, this is the energy that you are moving around with. It's going to affect your neighbors. It's going to be, road rage situations. It's going to affect the workplace. And what we're saying is whatever the relationship is that right now, you want it to be better and you just don't know how to make it better. What we are saying is that culturally relevant, so indigenous spiritual technologies that are Black indigenous technologies are really here to affect the mental, emotional, and physical body so that you can really make changes in your relationships. It doesn't have to be just one fraction of your culture that you get back in order to make a change. So although we say we really promote going to seek counsel, a lot of times we understand
wise counsel
that the dominant system that's oppressing you is not prepared to help you in this area. Right. It's not really prepared to help you. And although we've been professionally trained, like we said, we know what we were required to learn had nothing to do with Baba Haru or Mfudishi. It had nothing to do with
the right stuff.
A science that is about the Black African psyche or the soul and heart of Black people.
We got those degrees, and I was like, we've been in this program, we spent thousands of dollars, and Baba Haru taught me something in like 12 weeks that the PhD level hasn't caught up to yet. Mfudishi has taught us so many things, especially for these two men, with the nurture and the nature of Black men and the resolve and the restraint of how to be a healer. If you are going to be a spiritual warrior, it is not the rah, and it is the self-discipline, but also the self-nurturing that manifests as self-love that makes a woman even magnetically attracted to you. All of these running around crazy, bitter-ass men that are out here that can't attract any woman talking about they're in the revolution and they ain't busting a grape. You got to have a balance of sensitivity and, really to harmonize your presentation of your internal energy to the external world, including yourself, your divine mate, and then your children, your fellow man, and all of humanity, because we are the parent people, as we've been taught by our elders. So, this is serious. You need to get you some infused water, and you need to cleanse your palate.
And you need to click
you need to
The
click this bit.ly link,
Soulmate
get you a
strategy
free soulmate strategy session. It is the Roman Greco calendar of 2018, which is not our actual year. We're up in the 6,000s, but you know, or it's many calendars, but I'm just talking about the Kemetic calendar. Actually, our system, because of elder teachers like Baba Haru and Infudishi, we call it Kemet, which is also an acronym. So we told you about WISE counseling, which is an acronym, Holistic Immersion Synergy Effect. But Kemet stands for Cultural Mastery Technologies. So we spell cultural with a K, and we're talking about your inner culture, your heart, your mind, and your other 5 senses. So your 7 senses culture, your internal culture or microculture that projects out into the macro world, which is the external culture. And that means with your mate, with your divine reflection, with your people, with humanity, with the earth, with the seen and the unseen, the Amen and the Ra. And so that's how you create
archetypes, like
holistic,
sometimes called in traditional counseling, are not
right,
separate from you.
Right.
It's really a characteristic that you already can embody,
right,
and that's part of the science of soul meeting. So
right,
what you're attracted to in another person, you can actually develop in yourself.
That's right.
And what you have friction in with another person is another opportunity for you to perfect your character. So this is why we're saying whatever the relationship is, that when you lay your head on the pillow at night, that's what you're thinking of, or that's what you're dreaming about, or that's what you wake up in when you have that quiet, alone time. That's what we really want you to reach out to us for, because on the call, you're going to get an instant strategy that you can start right away. And then you can make the decision about what else you want to do. But we really are on a mission to help people truly unify and come together and solve these challenges that are in relationships using the things that are indigenously gifted to us that we're supposed to
Baba
use.
And Fudishi. So that's it, y'all.
That is it.
It's Akoma Day season. We're a month away from Akoma Day. This year's theme is the culture of love, and we have a huge announcement. Catch us to. We're not gonna say it now. I don't know when we're gonna say it. We're gonna say it sometime this week. But we have a huge announcement. Like our page, Akoma Day every day. Learn the virtues and principles and how to celebrate this cultural alternative to Valentine's Day that is now in 14 countries around the world. We want to keep it going and growing, and we want to share love. When you combine that with Black Love Day of Ayo Handy Kendi on February 13th, Akoma Day is from February 14th to February 20th, but we have combined with Ayo Handy Kendi to do Black Love Day. So now from February 13th to February 20th, we are crystallizing Black love in our thought, speech, and action. We're having great gatherings. Check our site for the places that we're going to be. But we have a major announcement that's going to shake up the world. And so we're excited about it. And
so join us next Monday.
Join us. Check us out
so
for the products.
Check out
Akoma Day season is rocking.
Because we really want you to, before we start talking about Akoma Day as a celebration, we just want to let you know how important ritual and celebrations are. So we're going to introduce the Akoma Day everyday conversation with how an oppressive system can really be affecting your relationship, and you don't even know it. So inside your own house, there are things that are affecting your relationship that's coming
that
from
white man in your house. Even when he ain't in your house, he's in your house.
Goodness.
He's in your refrigerator.
And on that note,
in your toilet. But so we thank you all for joining us. This is Mansho Nawashi Edu, the Akoma House Initiative, culturally based counseling and consulting firm, the art and science of Black love culture. I gotta say that. Hit that bit.ly link, get you a free consultation, and let's get our Black love on to the nth degree. Until we meet you next time, next Monday, we're gonna do a slideshow on mating, courting, and dating for Black nationhood. And until we meet you again, as always, as our battery is letting us know, it's time to go.
Nia Akoma.
Nia Akoma.